No one saved the crippled alien queen from the ruins, except the human she despised. The alien queen had once ruled from a throne made of crystal and living light. Entire star systems had bowed when her fleets arrived. Her voice had decided wars, borders, and the fate of billions. To her people, she was eternal. To her enemies, she was unstoppable. Now she lay buried under broken stone and twisted metal. Smoke filled the air of the ruined capital city. The sky above was dark, covered by burning clouds and drifting ash. The once great towers of her world had fallen like fragile toys. Energy shields were gone. Streets had turned into deep scars. The planet was quiet in a way that only followed complete destruction. The queen could not move her lower body. Pain spread through her like cold fire. One of her legs was crushed beneath a slab of black alloy. Her royal armor, once flawless, was cracked and useless. Every breath felt heavy, as if the planet itself was pressing down on her chest. She tried to call for help through her communicator. Nothing answered. Her guards were gone, her generals were gone. Her fleet had retreated, believing the capital lost and the queen dead. In war, even loyalty had limits. A crippled ruler was a weakness. A weakness could not lead an empire, so they had left her. The queen stared at the broken ceiling above her. Pieces of glowing crystal flickered weakly like dying stars. Rage burned in her chest, stronger than the pain, not at her enemies, at humanity. It was humans who had challenged her expansion, humans who had refused to submit. Humans who had forced her to commit more ships, more soldiers, more time than any lesser species deserved. She despised them. They were loud, emotional, disorganized. Their technology was crude, their worlds chaotic. They relied on numbers and stubbornness instead of proper order. In her eyes, humans were dangerous not because they were strong, but because they did not know when to give up. And now, because of this war, she was dying alone. Hours passed, or maybe days. Time had lost meaning beneath the ruins. Her strength faded, her thoughts slowed. The pain became distant, replaced by a deep, heavy exhaustion. She wondered if this was how all rulers ended, not in glory, but forgotten. Then she heard something, footsteps. At first she thought it was a hallucination. The dead city often played tricks on the mind, but the sound returned, careful, measured. Someone was moving through the ruins. Her hand weakly reached for the small energy blade still attached to her armor. If enemies had found her, she would not be taken alive. A shadow appeared at the edge of the collapsed chamber. The queen's eyes widened. The figure was short, too short for her kind, covered in dull armor, scratched and burned. A breathing mask hid most of its face. A small light shone from its helmet, scanning the debris. Human. Hatred flared inside her, sharp and sudden. Of all beings in the galaxy, a human. The human moved slowly, stepping over broken stone. His scanner beeped softly as it searched for signs of life. He stopped when the device reacted. The light turned toward her. For a moment, neither of them moved. The queen raised her blade with shaking strength. Her voice, though weak, carried authority. "Stay back," she said in her native tongue, then repeated it in broken human language. "Leave or die." The human froze. He slowly raised his hands, showing he carried no weapon aimed at her. His voice came through the translator on his shirt, calm and steady. "I'm not here to fight," he said. "I'm a rescue worker." Rescue, the word felt strange. "There is no rescue here," the queen replied. "This world is dead. Go back to your kind." The human took a cautious step closer. His scanner showed clear signs of life failure across the city. Radiation, structural collapse, enemy patrols possibly returning. He should have turned away. Instead, he knelt near her, keeping a respectful distance. "You're badly hurt," he said. "If I leave you here, you won't survive." "That is not your concern," the queen snapped. "I am your enemy." The human looked at her crushed leg, the broken armor, the blood that was not human red slowly pooling beneath the debris. "Doesn't matter," he said. "You're alive." The queen laughed weakly. "Humans always pretend to be moral," she said. "Tell me, if I were standing over you, would you expect mercy?" The human was quiet for a moment. "I don't know," he answered honestly, "but I'd hope for it." Her grip on the blade weakened. Pain surged again, reminding her how close she was to the end. "You should hate me," she whispered. "I ordered attacks on your colonies." The human nodded. "I know, and yet you stay," she said. He looked around at the unstable ceiling, at the deep cracks running through the structure. Every instinct told him this place was unsafe. One collapse would end him. "I don't leave people behind," he said simply. People. She was not people to him. She was a queen, an enemy, a symbol of war, yet he spoke as if none of that mattered. The queen felt something unfamiliar twist inside her chest, not pain. Something worse, confusion. "Go," she said again, weaker now. "You gain nothing by saving me." The human stood and walked closer. Slowly, carefully, he began to move debris away from her trapped leg, using small tools and controlled force. "I don't need to gain anything," he replied. She wanted to scream at him to stop, to tell him he was a fool, that saving her would only bring more conflict, but her voice failed. The ceiling groaned above them, dust rained down. The human paused, listening, calculating risk. Then he continued. The queen closed her eyes. She had ruled worlds, she had commanded fleets, she had crushed enemies without hesitation, and now her life rested in the hands of a human she despised. As darkness crept into the edges of her vision, one thought echoed in her mind. The alien queen opened her eyes sharply. Instinct told her the structure was failing. This place would not hold much longer. The human heard it too. He stopped moving the debris and looked up, scanning the cracks with his helmet light. His breathing grew faster, but he did not panic. "We don't have much time," he said. "You should have left already," the queen replied weakly. "Your kind is foolish to stay." The human ignored the insult. He reached into his pack and pulled out a compact metal device. With careful movements, he slid it under the broken slab, pinning her leg. "What is that?" she asked. "Lift tool," he answered. "It won't hold long, but long enough." She watched him work, confusion growing with every second. Humans were not known for patience or care, or saving enemies, yet here he was, sweating, bleeding from a cut on his arm, risking death for her. "Why?" she demanded. "Why help me?" The human paused, then activated the tool. The device hummed and slowly began to push the heavy slab upward. "Because you're here," he said. "And because I can." Pain shot through the queen as pressure shifted from her crushed leg. She gasped but forced herself to remain silent, showing weakness was not in her nature. The slab lifted just enough. "Now," the human said. "Can you move your leg?" She tried. Agony exploded through her body. Her vision blurred and a sharp cry escaped her before she could stop it. Her leg was damaged badly, nerves shattered, bone cracked. "No," she said through clenched teeth. "It will not respond." The human frowned. He quickly adjusted the device to hold the slab higher, then slid his hands under her armor, careful and respectful. "I'll have to carry you," he said. The queen stared at him in disbelief. "You cannot," she said. "I am heavier than your species and this place." "I know," he replied, "but we don't have another option." Outside the chamber, a distant explosion echoed. Enemy drones were returning to search the ruins. The human heard it. "So do we go?" he said. He braced himself and lifted. For a moment, nothing happened. Then with a strained grunt, he pulled her free. His knees bent under the weight, and he nearly fell, but he didn't drop her. The queen felt his arms tighten around her, steady and determined. No fear, no hesitation. She had been carried before by servants, guards, machines. Never like this. The human moved step by careful step through the broken corridor. Every movement was slow, calculated. His breath was heavy, his muscles shaking. "Put me down," she said. "You will die." "Not today," he answered. Another tremor shook the building. A section of wall collapsed behind them, blocking the path they had come from. The queen closed her eyes briefly. "This is pointless," she said. "Even if you escape, my enemies will hunt me. They will hunt you." The human adjusted his grip. "Then we'll keep moving," he said. Her thoughts raced. Humans were not supposed to be like this. They were meant to retreat when logic said retreat. They were meant to choose survival over ideals, yet this one acted as if logic meant nothing. As they reached a more open street, the sky above glowed red from distant fires. The capital city was gone. What remained was ruin and silence. The human placed her gently behind a fallen wall and activated a portable shield generator. A faint blue barrier shimmered into place. He knelt beside her, checking her injuries. "I need to treat your leg," he said. "It won't fix it, but it'll stop it from getting worse." "You do not have permission," she said automatically. He looked at her. "You can tell me to stop," he said, "but I won't leave you untreated." She hesitated. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Not her advisors, not her generals. They obeyed or feared her. This human did neither. Finally, she said nothing. He carefully removed damaged armor plating and applied medical foam. The foam hardened into a supportive cast, stabilizing her leg. The pain eased slightly. She exhaled slowly. "What is your name, human?" she asked. He looked surprised. "Daniel," he said. "Just Daniel." "No rank?" she asked. He shook his head. "I'm not military. I volunteer with a civilian rescue group." A civilian? The queen almost laughed. The fate of an empire rested on the actions of a single, unimportant human. "Daniel," she repeated, "if you save me, you may doom your species." He met her gaze through the helmet visor. "Maybe," he said, "but if I leave you, I doom myself." She did not understand. Seeing her confusion, he continued, "I wouldn't be able to live with that choice." Another sound cut through the air, mechanical, sharp, enemy drones. The human stiffened. He powered down the shield generator and looked around. "They're close," he said. The queen felt fear rise in her chest, not for herself, but for him. If he was captured, he would be interrogated, used. "They seek me," she said. "If you run now, you may escape." Daniel shook his head. "Too late," he said. The drones appeared at the end of the street, scanning ruins with red lights. One of them turned toward their position. Daniel grabbed a small signal device and threw it down a side alley. The signal activated, drawing attention away. The drones followed the false target. He exhaled slowly. "That was lucky," he said. The queen stared at him. "You just risked detection," she said. "For me." He shrugged. "Same answer as before." Silence settled between them. In that silence, something inside the queen shifted. A small crack in a belief she had carried her entire life. She had believed power came from command, from fear, from strength. But here was a human with none of those things, yet he stood unbroken. As they prepared to move again, she spoke softly. When this war began, she said, I believed humans were weak. Daniel glanced at her. And now, he asked. She did not answer. Above them the sky burned. Around them the ruins whispered of endings. But for the first time since the fall of her world, the alien queen did not feel entirely alone. And that frightened her more than the enemy ever had. The alien queen had been carried through the ruins for hours. Her leg, though stabilized, still ached. Every step brought sharp reminders of her broken body and the empire she had lost. Her pride, too, was in pieces. She had ruled billions, yet now her survival depended on a human, a being she had once considered beneath her notice. Daniel moved carefully, scanning every corner and listening for danger. His eyes never left the path, but he kept one hand near the queen, ready to steady her if she fell. The drones were still nearby, patrolling in patterns that no human should have been able to predict. But Daniel had learned to use instinct as much as tools. You move too slowly, the queen snapped at him. You would move slower if you had a broken leg, he replied calmly. Perhaps, but I am stronger than you, and yet I must rely on your strength, she muttered. Daniel looked at her quietly. I'm not here to be your strength, he said. I'm here so you live. The queen's eyes narrowed. Live, that word felt strange. She had always lived to rule, to conquer, to dominate. Now living meant trust, and trust in a species she had always despised. Ahead the street opened into a wide plaza. The ruins formed jagged walls and smoke curled in the air. Something moved among the debris, a shadow swift and dangerous. Enemies, Daniel whispered. The queen tensed. I can handle them, she said. You should leave. I can't, he replied. And you know it. Let's move. The shadows became clearer. Drones, small, flying scouts with sharp claws and red sensors scanned the area. They were fast, too fast for her crippled legs to outrun. Daniel dropped the queen gently behind a partially destroyed building. He crouched low, scanning the drones' movements. We need a distraction, he said. The queen's first instinct was to refuse. I am no pawn in your human tricks, she said. I'm not using you, Daniel replied. I'm using the ruins. He picked up a large piece of metal debris and hurled it toward another street. It clattered loudly, drawing the drones' attention. They pivoted, chasing the sound. Daniel grabbed the queen's arm. Now move! For the first time the queen felt fear, not for herself but for him. If the drones detected them, Daniel would be caught. He did not hesitate. He did not falter. And yet she had been trained to lead armies, not follow a human's command. She allowed herself to be dragged along, every movement a mixture of pain and disbelief. They darted through alleys, slipped under broken arches, and climbed over debris that would have been impossible for a normal human to carry alone. But Daniel did it anyway. Eventually, they reached the edge of the plaza. The queen could see the skyline of her ruined capital. Fires burned, and the smoke formed a dark shroud over the shattered city. Enemy ships hovered in the distance, scanning for survivors. This way, Daniel said, pointing toward a tunnel partially hidden by rubble. The queen glanced at him, her pride warring with reality. If we survive this, she said, I will remember your name. I don't need you to, he said. Just survive. Inside the tunnel it was quiet, too quiet. Shadows moved and the air smelled of dust and smoke. The queen's instinct screamed danger, yet Daniel moved confidently, as if he belonged there. He carried her carefully, adjusting her position so she wouldn't strain her leg. Why do you care? She asked after a long silence. You risk your life for me, an enemy who has destroyed your species' colonies. Daniel looked at her, calm and unwavering. Because it's right, that's enough. The queen wanted to argue. She wanted to remind him that humans were weak, emotional, and naive. But the more she looked at him, the more she realized her own understanding of humanity had been wrong. This human, this ordinary man, was stronger than she had ever imagined. As they moved deeper into the tunnel, an alarm sounded, a sharp, mechanical wail. Enemy forces had found them. Her pulse quickened. The queen had not run from a fight in her life, and now she could not run on her own. Daniel stopped. We need a plan, he said. I can't fight them all, but we can hold them long enough to get you to safety. The queen's eyes flicked to him. Hold them, she repeated. You are a single human. I am one human with friends, Daniel said, and I have faith in what humans can do. Faith, a word the queen had never respected. She had seen countless species crushed because of misplaced faith, because of blind belief in honor, loyalty, or morality. And yet Daniel's calm, steady presence inspired something she did not expect. The first drone entered the tunnel. Daniel rolled forward, grabbing a small energy net and launching it. The drone was ensnared, struggling as it crashed into the tunnel wall. Keep moving, he said. The queen followed, limping as best she could. Her pain was sharp, constant, but the human never let her fall behind. Every step he took was measured, calculated, precise. He was doing what no one in her empire had ever done, putting the well-being of another being above his own safety without hesitation. They reached a junction in the tunnels. Daniel paused, listening. The drones outside could see the tunnel mouth but could not enter easily. They had a small window. I'll get you out, he said. Then we fight if we have to. The queen did not respond. Her pride told her to speak, to order, to command, but the truth was undeniable. Without him, she would be dead, and not just injured or captured, dead. They moved through the tunnel system, the Queen occasionally glancing at Daniel. Her thoughts were heavy. Humans were unpredictable, they were emotional, and yet here was one who embodied every positive quality she had refused to believe existed in them: courage, loyalty, intelligence, and compassion. As they approached the tunnel exit, the Queen stopped suddenly. "I can't go further," she said. "My leg, I cannot run." Daniel glanced at her leg, stabilized but still useless. "Then I carry you," he said. "You will tire," she said, "and they will kill you." "I will not let that happen," he replied. She wanted to argue, to insist, to remind him that humans always failed, but the look in his eyes, a mixture of calm determination and raw courage, stopped her. She did not know why she trusted him. She did not even want to, but she did. He lifted her carefully. The drones were closer now, their sensors glowing red. Daniel's muscles shook, but his pace never faltered. He moved through the shadows, using the tunnel walls as cover. The Queen could hear her own heart, sharp and fast. Fear mingled with a strange sense of admiration. This human, he was extraordinary. At the tunnel mouth, daylight broke through. The city's ruined skyline was visible, distant fires lighting the sky. Drones hovered above, but Daniel had brought her to the edge of a cliff overlooking the river that ran through the city. He set her down gently, crouching beside her. "Almost there," he said. "We just need to cross the bridge and then we're safe." The Queen's eyes narrowed. "A bridge?" she asked, seeing the enemy patrols nearby. "Do you not see them?" "I do," Daniel replied, "but we have advantage. The drones cannot predict every human choice." The Queen's disbelief was sharp. Humans were illogical. They were supposed to fail. And yet here he stood, planning a path through impossible odds. She realized something. Humanity was not weak, not in courage, not in spirit, not in will, and perhaps this one human was the finest of them all. A low hum grew from the bridge. The enemy had noticed their movement. Drones swarmed the area, scanning for life signs. Daniel's gaze met hers. "Ready?" The Queen, for the first time, nodded. She could not move on her own. She could not escape alone. But if she had to survive, it would be with him. And Daniel, ordinary yet unyielding, would carry her through fire. The alien Queen watched as Daniel carefully led her across the damaged bridge. The river below reflected fires from the ruined city, twisting in orange and red. Smoke spiraled into the sky. Enemy drones patrolled above, their red sensors flashing across the shadows. The Queen's heart raced, not from fear but from disbelief. She had expected death here, either from the enemy or from her own incapacity. She had never imagined a human could be this fearless, this determined, this steadfast. Daniel glanced at her. "Almost there. Stay close," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. She wanted to speak, to remind him again that she was an enemy, that she had destroyed worlds he cared for. But the words stuck in her throat. She realized she could not argue against the truth she saw with her own eyes. Humans, one human, were capable of courage she had never encountered, and she had spent centuries ruling, fearing nothing, trusting only herself. The drones noticed them. Red lights glowed, sensors sweeping the bridge. One drone hovered closer. Daniel immediately drew a compact energy launcher and fired. The drone twirled, sparks flying before crashing into the river below. The Queen flinched at the explosion but felt a strange surge of relief. This human was her shield, her sword, her only chance to survive. And he had not hesitated. "They are coming," she whispered. Daniel nodded. "I know, but I have a plan." He activated a small device that projected a temporary energy dome over the bridge, just large enough to block the drone's sensors. The humming shield flickered in blue, casting shadows across the Queen's face. She saw his determination mirrored in her own, though for very different reasons. "You believe humans can win against machines like this?" she asked, her voice quiet. He shrugged. "Not by power alone, but with courage, wit, and determination. Yes, we can." The Queen frowned. Determination. Humans were stubborn, yes, but Daniel's version of stubbornness was admirable, impossible to ignore. As they crossed the final stretch of the bridge, enemy forces arrived on the other side. Ships hovered and elite alien soldiers, her former allies, stepped forward. They had come to finish the Queen. Daniel froze for just a moment. Then he held the Queen tighter and whispered, "Stay with me, trust me." For the first time in centuries, she did. The soldiers advanced, their weapons raised. The Queen's pride urged her to shout, to command, to show herself as a queen who could not be touched, but her body betrayed her. She could barely stand. She had no ships, no soldiers, no fleet, only Daniel. The human took a deep breath. "We fight differently," he said. From his pack he deployed small devices, holographic projectors, energy traps, and smoke generators. The battlefield shifted in ways the soldiers could not anticipate. They stumbled and reacted too late. Daniel moved with uncanny intelligence, predicting their every move. The Queen felt a strange sense of awe. Humans could adapt, improvise, and resist in ways even her kind struggled with. They were weak individually, yes, but together with courage and intelligence they were unstoppable. A soldier lunged for her. Daniel intercepted using a small stun baton. Sparks flew. The queen's body tensed at every movement, yet she felt no fear. Only astonishment at the human at her side. You survived because of him, she realized, and because humans never give up. Another explosion, another maneuver, and the enemy forces began to fall back. Daniel shouted instructions, organized traps, and used the environment against them. The queen watched in disbelief as one human held the line against an entire alien unit. Then finally, the drones and soldiers retreated. The city below was destroyed, but the queen and Daniel stood at the edge of the bridge, breathing heavily, safe for now. The queen looked at him. She had never had to admit anything to anyone, and yet she whispered, You were right about your species. They are stronger than I imagined. Daniel shook his head. Not stronger, different. You see strength as dominance. Humans see strength as courage, persistence, and loyalty. That is why we survive and why you are alive. The queen's mind raced. She had spent her life judging humans by their weaknesses. Now she saw that her understanding had been shallow. Humans were not weak. They were resilient, moral, brave, and one of them had just saved her life without hesitation, without desire for reward, without fear. She remembered the billions she had ruled, the enemies she had crushed, the fear she had inspired. And she realized something shocking. She had never seen power like this before, not through force, not through fleets, not through domination. Only through humanity's refusal to abandon what they valued. Daniel, she said finally, her voice trembling slightly, I owe you my life. He smiled faintly. You don't owe me anything, just life, that's enough. For the first time, the queen understood something profound. Life could not be measured by conquest. Life could not be measured by fear or loyalty alone. Life was about choices, choices that reflected honor, courage, and compassion, and humans, this fragile, flawed, emotional species, had made the right choice. The queen's transformation was quiet but complete. Where once she had looked down upon humanity, she now looked at them with respect and something else, hope. She turned to survey the ruins of her empire. Ships were destroyed, cities were leveled, countless lives lost. And yet there was a path forward. She could rebuild, but differently, and humans, her unexpected saviors, would be part of the new galactic order. Your people, she said, glancing at Daniel, will they survive? They will, he said, because humans don't give up. Not even when the odds are impossible. The queen's lips curved into a rare smile. She had never smiled in centuries. She had never felt relief like this. She had never respected another species so completely. I underestimated them, she admitted quietly. I underestimated you. Daniel chuckled. You're alive, that's all that matters. She nodded, understanding fully, and in that moment she made a silent vow. Never again would humanity be dismissed. Never again would their courage be underestimated. The galaxy would remember their honor. The galaxy would remember their strength. Hours later, when the rescue ships arrived to evacuate them, the queen watched from the shuttle. Daniel helped her inside, keeping her stable as the engines roared to life. The ruined city fell behind them, smoke rising like a grave marker. In private, she turned to him. Daniel, you have changed my view of your species. You have saved my life, and in doing so, you have shown me what true strength is. He shrugged, smiling again. I didn't do it for thanks. I did it because it was right. The queen studied him, then the stars beyond. She realized that the universe had just taught her a lesson she would never forget. Power was not the same as strength, and fear was not the same as courage. Humanity, fragile, flawed, emotional, had survived where empires had failed, and one human had saved her from the ruins. Her empire might rise again, but the lesson remained. Humanity was not to be ignored. Humanity was not to be conquered. Humanity was to be respected. As the shuttle moved away from the ruins, the queen looked at Daniel one last time. He did not ask for reward. He did not ask for praise. He had done what humans did best, acted with courage, wisdom, and honor. And for the first time in centuries, the alien queen, once proud, feared, and untouchable, felt gratitude, not just for her life, but for the species she had spent lifetimes despising. The galaxy had changed. She had changed. And it had happened because one human refused to leave her behind. For the first time in her life, she did not feel alone, and she knew the stars themselves had watched a new legend being born, humanity, the species who saved a queen.